Okay, I think that we have everybody here. Let's go ahead and get started. Go ahead and unmute your microphones. Okay, so we have, can everybody hear me okay? Kylie, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And then Azneve? And Giovanni, are you there?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Good deal. Okay, we actually have one more in this group. His name is Ethan, but he's unable to make it tonight. So we will just go ahead and get started with the art merit badge. Also for your information, actually let me double check this before I actually tell you if it is or not. And yes, it is recording. So tonight's webinar is being recorded and then it'll be placed up on the Google Classroom so you can view it and kind of have it as a reference in case you had any questions on anything. If your Scoutmasters had questions on anything, then it'll be up there for you too. Okay, and so we're just going to dive right into requirement 1A. I saw that some of you have submitted some of your class assignments for what we're going to be talking about tonight with requirement 1, requirement 2, 3. We're going to touch on requirement number 4 for what needs to be done. And this isn't just a one and done with tonight. There'll be opportunities for you to submit all of your assignments all the way through to like the 18th or the third week of April, whatever's convenient for you. And then as soon as it gets updated, that's when I'll update as soon as it gets submitted, that's when I'll update the blue card. And then also, if you have Scoutbook, I can link to Scoutbook with your Scoutmaster's approval. And they just have to send a request to me, have them email me if you do have Scout Book, and we can link that so that I can update the requirements completed within there too. That way we can also have a digital blue card with Scout Book if needed and if wanted. So with art, art is the expression or application of human creative skill or imagination. So it's typically visual. There's sculptures, there's paintings, there's pretty much anything and everything that you can look at can be considered art, and uh, it's a lot of it is creativity. I do a lot with woodworking, so I like to kind of have that as kind of my art. Um, so on this part is actually a discussion with the three of you. So we will go in alphabetical order. So we'll go as Neve first, and then Giovanni, and then Kylie. Um, let's see what your opinion of art is. What do you believe art to be?
So I think art's like anything that can show expression, or just kind of anything you can like draw or paint, just anything that you feel like expresses yourself.
Awesome, Giovanni.
Anything that you look at or can see that has color.
Excellent. And Kylie.
I feel like art is anything that like art, like they say, like beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So like I believe art is basically any way of a person putting their creativity down somewhere physically that they feel is beautiful to them.
Great answer. Thank you. Okay, so we'll be focusing mostly on the visual art. Um, there's yeah, you could put music in there as art. You could put videos or anything like that in a category of art. But we'll just work on or not work, but just focus on the visual art. So drawings, paintings, sculptures, collages, and um, okay. So with requirement 1B, down that same alphabetical answers, why is art? What is your opinion of why art is important to humankind?
Well, I think art it's kind of like it can be used in like things like propaganda, and it's also like it was used back like when there was like still cavemen, and that's how we kind of know what happened in like early history. So it's kind of important. Like they didn't really have it like written down and documented then, so it was like painting on cave walls. Like it's kind of really important to our history.
Yeah, that's right.
No matter what culture you are, you will always appreciate it.
I like that one.
I feel that art is a great way to like connect people because even if you don't speak the same language or understand the same literature as somebody, then you can always like connect with them through art because art's visual. You don't have to necessarily understand it as much as like writing.
Right. Yeah. Most of the time, there's not really words associated with it. It's that emotional portion of it that kind of connects people. Excellent. So here, pictured here is just a few. You mentioned propaganda. You mentioned a lot of cave art. Um, yeah, there's one thing that I'm always intrigued with, and I love finding them, are pictographs, where it's just this art form that's just carved, not really carved, but it's this painted on the side of a rock, and it's been sitting there for years and years and years, and somehow it just never goes away. But it tells a story, and it's just really interesting. We'll get into some of that uh, with the lines when we start talking about some of the elements. But there's one with one of the Anasazi tribes in southern Utah that they use the art form. I'm gonna do it with my finger. They have it this wave. They have this snake kind of a thing. And it just waves and waves and waves. And depending how short or long this snake on the side of this rock, on the side of this either cave or side of the cliff, depending on how long it is, it's a depiction of time. So they used that imagery to tell the story of how long a period of time went. If it was quick, short but quick, it was just really, there wasn't really any waves really. It was just kind of really fast swiggles going for a short period of time. If it was long and enduring or whatnot, it was going extremely up and down for a very long time with this drawing of this snake. So it's really interesting how communication can happen through art. Okay, we're gonna talk about some of the emotions with art that you mentioned before with requirement 1B that it was touched on. So requirement 1C is asking us, how does art make you, what does art mean to you and how does it make you feel? So this picture right here, going down just one at a time, when you look at that picture, what's the first thing that pops into your mind and how does it make you feel? Neve, go ahead.
It's kind of like makes me feel really sad for him.
Yeah, kind of looks like he's having a hard time, huh? Giovanni,
hmm
what's your thoughts?
He's thinking about something really hard and he's sad.
Yeah, how does it personally make you feel?
Sad
Kind of makes you a little
for
sad,
him.
huh? Kylie, what's your thoughts?
It's sad and kind of lonely looking.
Yeah, great answers. Okay, we're going to look at another one. Okay, how does this piece of art make you feel? Asniz?
It's kind of like almost like a little celestial and like enchanting. It's kind of like makes me feel like wonderment.
Yeah. Giovanni?
It makes me feel excited and adventurous and peaceful.
Excellent. And Kylie?
I mean, it makes me feel like happy and calm.
Awesome. Yeah, this is one of those places where I wish I was right now, kind of a thing, instead of trapped at home for how many days now? I've lost track how many days we're at home. But yeah, this is it's one of those pieces that makes you feel happy. Okay, another one. Neve, how does this one make you feel?
Kind of like almost confused or a little dizzy because of the way it like the waves and like the sky goes.
Yeah. Okay. Giovanni?
Confused.
Okay. Kylie?
Yeah, it makes me feel kind of confused and anxious because it just looks really weird in the way that the lines are going. There's no actual direction to it.
Right. Okay. I think I have one more. I do have one more. Okay, this one right here. Neve, how does this one make you feel?
Kind of like happy because they seem like they're enjoying their time together.
Yeah. Giovanni?
Excited because they're enjoying life.
Excellent. And Kylie?
It makes me feel happy because they look like they're having a nice time.
Yeah, I'm wondering what tune he's playing. It looks like it's a good one because she's smiling. Okay. So on to requirement number 2. We're going to discuss some of the terms and elements of art. So we have line, value, shape, form, space, color, and texture. Okay, so within the Google Classroom, the assignment asks for you to show examples of each element. So this right here, this picture is one that I came up with. I drew it. It's not perfect, but it gets the job done. So in it, you can see where the lines, shapes. It's something that you need to create yourself also, and explain a little bit of it, and then just take a picture of it and just attach it to the assignment within the classroom. And if you've already done that, awesome job. And so we'll just go ahead and discuss some of these items with what they mean. So the first one, we're going to talk about line. So the lines are pretty much the building blocks of all art. It's a good place to start when you're making or looking at analyzing works of art. In photography, I love dabbling in photography, and um, in college, it was actually one of my favorite classes. That was just one of those fun classes that you get to take. One of the things that they talk about all the time is leading lines. You want to have your picture or your painting or your drawing or anything that you're creating, you want it to have it follow where the individual who is looking at the piece of art can follow where you're taking them. You want to be able to take them from point A to point B within your art. And doing that with lines, you can have it, as you can see down at the bottom right here. You can see how it's making you look what's behind her and where she's going. And then also some of the very first drawings that myself and even my children and whatnot, they usually start out with stick figures, and that's okay. It's great. It's a wonderful way to uh, tell a story. It's a wonderful way of expressing who's doing what, or just kind of just having examples with it. So let's go back. Oh, no, go back. There we go. Okay, so Azneev, what's what's your thoughts on lines? The element of lines.
I think that like lines like when they're like leading you somewhere, it's really good way to like show almost like you can show contour and you can show like it helps to show dimension.
Great. Giovanni?
It helps your eyes focus and follow where the lines are going to.
Okay. Kylie?
I think lines are pretty cool because if like they're not going in the direction of what you want someone to focus on, then they're not going to focus on that. But when they are going in the way that you want somebody to focus on something, it just makes the accentuation of that so much better.
Great. So yeah, lines don't have to be a straight line. Lines can be something that is swiggly. It can be something that is uniform. It can be something that's just completely chaotic that it doesn't really make any sense. It can create something. What do lines create? Who's got the answer for that one? What can lines create?
Anything.
Everything. Yep. Okay, so lines create everything. And to start with one of the basic elements, it creates shapes. So there's multiple shapes out there. There's circles, there's rectangles, triangles, hexagons, octagons, ovals, and pretty much a shape is a two-dimensional area that's defined in some way. So with these shapes, uh, it may have an outline around it, or you may recognize it by its area. Okay, so you could actually have this square, and you can actually create a line around the square to give it some definition. Okay, a little bit of discussion on shapes. As Neve.
I think shapes are like they're really helpful because they can show like it really helps with abstract art. So you can show like different ways to construct things. Like if you're trying to make a stop sign and you wanted to do something abstract, you can make it in the shape of like a triangle instead.
Cool. Giovanni.
I think that shapes make up every drawing because they're there in the background.
Okay. And Kylie?
I think shapes are pretty cool because they make up everything, like it, everything, because
Yeah.
everything has shape, and if it didn't, then it'd just be one big mess. So like
Yeah,
everything has shape. It's everywhere.
that's true. Thank you. Okay, on to form. So form is taking that shape and now it's giving it some three-dimensional characteristic. Okay, so let's go ahead and have Asneev give us some insight on some form.
So kind of like when you have like a two-dimensional object versus a three-dimensional object, or like if you have just like a flat face, and you're trying to add like you want to add more dimension, form really helps because it can show like perspective and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, Giovanni.
It gives something more for you to look at and enjoy.
Excellent. Kylie.
Form gives like shapes that are just like two-dimensional, more for somebody to look at. So like as Neve said, perspective. So how one person might look at something could be totally different to another person because of the form of the object.
Right. Yeah. So with the form, with giving that perspective, kind of like what you said, you could, depending on who's standing where, that form could actually change so that now it's facing over this way. And then the shadow could be over here depending on where the individual is standing or if there's two individuals looking at the same item, then yeah, that it gives that perspective. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Space. So that's the difference between uh, stuff. It's a different. It's the space between shapes. It's the space between lines. It's just uh, it's just the area that you're able to have something in it, or you don't have to have anything in it. So there's positive and then there's negative space. So at the bottom you can see right here. This is positive space. This is the exact same image, just a negative of the other. And so you can see right here, there's you can kind of see the candlestick a little bit more. Well, at least with me, I can see the candlestick in the positive space more than I can see it in the negative space just because that's what's black. But if you focus back a little bit, you can still see the people's faces facing each other. It's a little bit more noticeable in the negative space. So, what's your thoughts on that, Asniv?
So I think kind of like space, it helps you show like shadowing. So if you're trying to like make a sculpture and you're trying to like contour it by using positive and negative space, it can help you show if it's like dented in or like pointed out.
Okay. Giovanni?
It can point you in the direction of the main thing that the painting or drawing is about, the way the positive and negative space is.
Okay. Kylie?
So like with positive and negative space, it tends to draw your eyes to something very specific. It's like with that drawing, like on the slide right there, with the first image, you're gonna be drawn to the black first, and so you see the cup. With the second image, you're drawn to the black first also, which is the faces. But for some people, that might be opposite. So you're drawn to the white first, and either one, you just see it differently. So it can help with perspective and seeing different parts of a photo.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, on to texture. So texture, you don't really go around with paintings or drawings or anything like that. You don't really go up to these paintings, or you just don't rub your hand all over it to see what the texture is, right? I mean, it's some of these oil paintings, you'll take a look at them, and yeah, there's actual physical texture on that because with the oil painting, it's layer upon layer on layer of the oils on top of each other, and that adds some dimension and adds the texture. So you're able to create actual texture on the canvas by using the oil painting, but you can't really do that with pencil or with pen or anything like that with layers. But you can actually make it look like it's uh, make it look like the way it's going to feel. So, what's some thoughts on texture, Asniv?
So I think texture it kind of like helps like an artist convey like what they're thinking or like how they're feeling. Like if they try to make a rougher texture, it could be like having to do with their mood.
Okay, Giovanni.
It can make the drawing more realistic.
Can. Yep. Kylie.
So like texture can help the author, not author, geez, artist convey like what they're trying to put on. So like if the person is trying to show that like the blanket is soft, they're gonna do a softer texture.
Excellent. Okay. Okay, value. So that's the gradual change of lightness or darkness of a color. So over here, I just did it. This is colored pencil, and it's taking it from darker and it's slightly going lighter to lighter, lighter until it just kind of fades away. It's created when the light source shines upon the object, creating highlights. Uh, it's forming shadows or can cast shadows. Sometimes you'll see a image of an apple, and that apple has a light shining onto it, and then it kind of gets darker at the top or darker at the bottom with a little bit lighter on the top because that's what the light's hitting it right up there, and then you'll see the shadow. And it's that gradual change of the light as it goes from you're trying to replicate what the actual light is doing to the medium with having it super bright on the point where it's hitting, and then it slowly, gradually, because of the natural curvature of the apple, is causing it to be darker, and then that shadow naturally is caused because the light in the apple causes the shadow. So, what are some thoughts on value?
So like value kind of it helps to show dimension and it helps to show like if there's a highlight so you always can know where like the light source is coming from.
Okay, Giovanni.
Um, it adds like it tells you where the light is, which makes it more realistic,
Okay,
and it adds like 3D kind of.
yeah. Okay, Kylie.
So like value, it can like indicate shadow. So it can show in a painting what the artist wants to stick out to you the most.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Okay, last one is color. So we see the colors because of the different light waves and whatnot uh, with our eyes. So the color wheel helps out quite a bit with that. So there are three main basic colors that can produce every single color that you would want to use or could use on a painting or a well, you can kind of do it with colored pencils and whatnot. It's a little bit harder, but mostly with your paints and with your watercolors. It works very well when you start mixing colors. So you have your red, yellow, and blue. So obviously, when you have your red right here, and it starts to uh, bleed a little bit with yellow, you're going to get orange. And so, same thing with the yellow going over towards the blue. That's the spectrum right there where the blue will come over, and if it starts bleeding over with the green, bleeding with the yellow, you're going to get green. And then with the red and the blue, it starts turning into this purplish color. And it's just kind of fun let me see if I can pull that up for the example that I had once. Right there. Okay. Let me pull this over for you. So here we have with the primary colors. What was this one for? This one was for the tiger cubs. Okay, it was for tigers. So right here, this was done with watercolors. And it was just it's a really fun activity that you can do just to see what the colors will actually do and how you can mix the colors. First, you want to start off with your yellow and your red and your blue, and then when you start kind of bleeding it with a little bit more water with those watercolors, they'll start mixing together, and that's when you start getting all these fun colors with your oranges or your purple, your magentas, and your bright, kind of light bright greens that happen when you start getting a little more yellow than blue. It's a fun activity. So if you're using watercolors for requirement number 4, that'd be a fun one to do. Okay. So requirement number 3, we are going to go over rhythm. And let me get back over to here. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so we're going to discuss the 6 principles of design. So we're going to start out with rhythm. There's also going to be balance, proportion, variety, emphasis, and unity. So rhythm, as you can see right there, it's the movement. It's achieved through repetition of the lines, the shapes, the colors. You can see over here that the repetition of these lines right here, it causes a path for your eyes to follow. Same with these lines right here, the repetition of it constantly just spiraling and spiraling, it draws your eye towards the center of that. And kind of the same item with this. This is more of kind of a, looks like flower petals. Kind of the same principle as this watercolor that's up above it, or this oil painting that's up above it. So what are your thoughts on rhythm?
So I think rhythm can kind of like show the mood on like which way it's going or how it's like taking you. Like if it's going in a circle, it's kind of like making you feel different if you're just going in a straight line.
Okay, Giovanni?
It could add a layer of texture and extra design throughout the drawing.
Yeah, yeah, it could. Kylie?
So like rhythm is cool because since it suggests movement and like action, then it can draw your eyes to where the movement's going and can really like make a painting or a picture appear to be moving when it might not be.
Yeah, yep, it can. Okay, next one is balance. So it's just kind of, if you think of a balancing scale, you can't have one side go more than the other. You want it to have kind of this uniform look at the picture. Um, there's some examples right here with how one side is almost exactly like the other. This one, it's almost like it's the negative and positive of the sun. This one is kind of like with the positive and negative that we saw before, with the faces and the candlestick. So what's your thoughts on balance, Asniv?
I think balance is kind of important because it shows like it can help to show the way you're trying to convey the art. Like if you want it like a certain way and you want to balance it a certain way, it helps to show like mood and like convey a thought or something like that.
Okay, Giovanni.
It can show like the design of it more, and it would kind of point you in the direction of the middle of the painting.
Okay, Kylie.
So like balance is really like satisfying because it's basically like mirrored. That's what it is. It's like mirrored but two different ways.
Hmm.
So you can perceive it differently while it's being the same picture.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, next one is proportion. Okay, it's relationship of size when compared to another. So these images right here, the proportion of each foot compared to the man is an example. Then also your proportion of how big that little chick is compared to, I guess, that little man right there. So it's you can kind of see that sometimes in photography also when you have your subject. One way to do that is actually with we could have done it last night with the full moon. So one thing that you can do based on how the proportion of the moon is, you can make it bigger or smaller based on your zoom, and but you can actually have it if you have something in front of the moon, say like a tree or a mountain peak or anything like that. That's a pretty far distance away. It's probably I'd say probably about a mile away, and you're zooming in pretty close to that, and you're able to focus in on that peak or that tree or anything that's on that ledge, and have the moon right behind it, then it'll actually make the moon look bigger than it actually is. It's a really fun technique and trick that you can do with photography. The same is with painting and with drawing and uh, with watercolors, because you can take that imagery that you have of that picture that you probably took, or that picture that you've seen that someone else took of this huge gigantic moon, and create it to make it look kind of like one of these. um, so what's your thoughts on proportion?
I think proportion can also it can be used like to show like if something, say someone has like a fear of water and you want to make the water seem like the waves seem much bigger, it can be used to show like fear and can help like show the emotions of the people in the art.
Yeah.
It can show what it's about. Like, if it's about a certain person, they can make that person really big.
Okay.
So like proportion is pretty cool because it can make something really small seem really big when actually it's not. So like it can also be perceived differently. So like with the bottom picture with the chick and the man, you don't know whether the chick's really big or the man's really small, right? So
Right.
it's like can be different perspectives, and I think that's pretty cool.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, variety. So looking at looking at paintings and whatnot, it's always fun to see some of the variety that everybody has with it. It's making it so that uh, it's making it so it's not boring kind of a thing. It's giving life to it. It's really neat and really fun to have some variety, because it makes people want to keep coming to look at your piece. Um, Nothing against the Mona Lisa or anything, but to me that's kind of a really boring painting. It's done very well. It is one of the masters' uh, best works, kind of a thing, but I'm not always going to come back and take a look at it on a weekly basis or once a month or anything like that, just because I've seen it. It was okay, kind of a thing. It was done very well. Um, but that variety of having something that's really, for me personally, having that item that's just really abstract and really neat and helps you want to come back to look at the painting again to see if there was something a little bit different that you didn't notice the last time. That's the kind of things that I like to look at when I look at painting and artworks. Uh, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think variety is important. So it's like kind of like you said when you can go back and look to see if you can see something new. It's almost like keeping people who are viewing your art interested and keeping them like engaged so they don't get kind of tired of or bored with your artwork.
Okay,
You can put like anything you want in the picture and it will fit in.
excellent.
It's like variety is pretty cool because it keeps you like coming back, like you said. So like something you looked in the photo before and you saw could look different the next time you see it, or you could notice something different, and it just keeps the painting interesting even after you look at it one time.
Excellent. Yep. Okay, emphasis. So it's an area or object within the artwork that draws attention. A lot of times you see the color red with this for some reason. Maybe just because red is one of those colors that just really stands out on anything and everything. Red kind of means a lot of different things, going from um, kind of a look at this, draw your attention kind of a thing. Stop signs are red. They want to get your attention really quick. And then there's also almost every emergency and danger sign that I've ever seen is red. And one way, or not one way, but do not enter signs. Those things are red because you'll probably end up getting hurt really bad or dying or causing an accident or something with if you don't do that. So red is one of those colors that just really draws attention really fast to individuals' eyes. Um, so on this one, you have it's kind of the negative effect with the tomatoes right here. You have all the red, and then all of a sudden, this green one just stands right out. You have this little red dot that stands out. You have Red Riding Hood that you have the background is muted out where it's darker and kind of dull and kind of monochromatic so that the focal point with Red's hood with her cape stands out quite a bit. It's the focal point. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think kind of like emphasis it helps to show like something you might not like might normally not notice or something that would blend in. It helps to make it stand out.
Okay.
It can, like, you could make it everything else a different color, and then it could be the first thing you immediately look at for a picture.
Okay. And Kylie?
I think emphasis is cool because it really helps the artist and it allows them to put a focal point on the picture and really tell people what they want them to look at.
Okay. Okay, requirement number 3, unity. Let's see, this one, I believe this one might be the last one. Okay, so it's also called harmony. It gives the artwork a sense of cohesion, coherence. It kind of completes the picture. Um, what are your thoughts on unity?
I think unity it also can be like important because it's kind of the opposite of the last one. Like it makes it stand out to make it like to make it makes the whole thing stand out to make it look less kind of boring and like drab.
Okay.
It makes multiple of one thing stand out. Like in the tree, everything else is bland, and then the apples or whatever those are red, so it draws attention to them.
Yeah.
So like kind of what Asneev said is like rather than the last one drawing a focal point to one specific piece of the painting or picture, it's emphasizing the entire picture as one big unified piece and making the whole thing seem calm and nice, or, whatever the artist wants to convey feeling wise.
Yeah, yeah, it adds that unity. It adds the completeness of the whole picture. So if you were just to focus in on just this little, on this section right here, it would be a good picture. It'd be a good painting. But as soon as you zoom out, then you can see the whole tree. You can see how it has all these red, I guess they're red hearts. You have all these red heart shaped apples on it, and it just it completes the picture, or the painting. It's just like with this big band that's right here. You have all these individuals that, with the conductor, with the bass drum, with the saxophone players over here, you have some string instruments over here. If you were to just take just the conductor by himself, it'd probably look okay. It'd probably be fine. Um, but zooming out until you start seeing the rest of the band, that's when it makes sense of what this conductor's doing. What are they playing? They're playing some type of music, and it just completes it. Okay, alrighty, we're on to a fun one now. This one is one that's not due for tonight or tomorrow, or it's due whenever you can get it done this month. And uh, what you're going to do is you're going to render a subject of your choice in 4 different ways. Um, let's see if I actually have that. We did this with our troop a while ago. All right, so here's another post that we did. We made our own watercolors also, but our subject for the merit badge, everybody had to do a Rubik's cube. It was awesome to do. You don't have to do the Rubik's cube. Uh, it was a subject that the troop chose because it offered shape, it offered lines, it offered the kind of the 3 dimensional with the shape and color, and the texture of it also, because some of them actually included the wood board underneath, so that offered different texture than the smoothness of each of the tiles on the Rubik's cube. So that's one of the things that you could do. You could just create your own. Oh, let me get out of this. Let me go back. The sun is hitting just right, so I can't see. Sorry, guys. Okay, so you can do anything that you want. You can do a family member. You can do an inanimate object that's outside. You could do a rock. You could do a landscape. It's totally up to you. Whatever you want to do, just make sure it's the same subject for all 4. So if you're doing a teddy bear, then you want to do the teddy bear in pencil. You want to do the teddy bear in watercolors. You want to do the teddy bear in pen and ink, and then you want to do the teddy bear in either a computer drawing, or if you have paints, you can use tempera. You can use acrylics. Charcoal is actually an easy one too, because it works a lot like graphite to a certain degree. Um, with the graphite, you can kind of smudge a little bit. Charcoal, you can smudge a little bit to give a little bit more texture. You can give some shadowing effect with it. So it's totally up to you what you want to do with the 4 subjects. It's just you have to use one of these uh, one of these mediums with watercolors or pencils or pastels. Um, if you have, I kind of flashed up that post that we have on our website with making watercolors. If you don't have watercolors and you kind of want to see how to make your own watercolors, and it's really easy to do with just household items that are in almost every single home with baking soda, vinegar, corn syrup, and cornstarch, and then just good old food coloring. That's up there also if you want to kind of experiment with that. I can put the link to that blog post up in there too if you'd like. Any questions on requirement number 4 with rendering your subject? Nope. Okay. So we will go to requirement. Whoa, I lost requirement number 5. Oh, bummer. Okay, so let's go back here really quick. Okay, requirement number 5. It's up there on the classroom, and that one is uh, doing a story. Tell a story with pictures. And we're going to do the, it's that right there. Okay, so the template is up there for you. Just print it off and then do your story. It doesn't have to be professionally done. It could be stick figures. It could be a beautiful rendition of a story in tempera paint or watercolors. It's totally up to you how you would like to, if you have extra time to make it look beautiful, go for it. I'm not requiring it. As long as you can tell me the story, which you can tell the story with any type of lines. It can be very simple. And that's on the classroom. Here's one example of how basic it can actually be. Okay, right here. Here's a story. So this was done for the Weeblos movie making, which it does the same requirement also. It's create a story using a storyboard. So you can create your little story. I'm not requiring you to make it into a movie because that's the wrong badge. So any question, it can be done in pencil, it can be done in pen, however you'd like. I recommend pencil because if you make a mistake, you can at least erase it. Any questions on number 5? Okay, we'll go on to number 6. There we go. Okay, number 6. So during this, oh, hey, why did it do that? Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so requirement number 6, it's one of those times where we wish that we could actually physically go into an art museum. The city that I live in, it's actually called Art City. And there's a really big art museum that's right in the center of town. It's beautiful. It's one of these things where the anticipation of this badge, we were planning on actually having a portion of the webinar be at that art museum, but with COVID-19 items, we weren't able to do that. So we apologize for that. The next best thing is virtual, since we can't go to any public places right now. On the classroom page, I have put 5, I believe it was 5 different art museums that you can actually do with kind of walking through them. You have to do this with your parents' permission, parent or guardian permission, and pick which one you guys would like to go to and just follow the arrows to wherever you would like. You can take a look around, see all the different paintings that they have. There is artwork everywhere. There is one. Oh, I was just there. I already got lost in a virtual tour. Horrible. Okay, so there's certain paintings also. Some of the most popular and famous ones actually have it where you can click on it and you can, those are lights, and get some history on it. So this one is Van Gogh's. Pretty much everything that's in here in this one is Van Gogh because it's the Van Gogh Museum. You can go through and click on that one right there. It'll tell you some of the items with it. There's certain sometimes they have more than one page for some of the history on it and some of the background on it. And just have fun kind of um, exploring this area with museums that are actually across the world that for the most part we'll never be able to get into or go to because I doubt I'm ever going to have the opportunity to go to the Van Gogh Museum, but I can at least kind of take a look at it. And if I have a question on head of a woman, then I can find out all the information on it right there and kind of see where it's placed in the museum. There's head of a man, I guess man and woman. Yeah, we don't want that one. So, any questions on requirement number 6? Okay, again, this one, make sure that you have your parent or guardian's permission or your parent or guardian sitting with you, going through, sometimes with art. Not everybody is clothed, so make sure that you are cautious of that. Okay, requirement number 7. 7 is finding out about 3 career opportunities in art. You have to pick one and find out the education, the training, the experience required with it, and then we'll discuss that later on. If interested, I'll ask in the classroom to see if you guys would want to do another webinar to just kind of finalize. It'd probably only be like a half-hour one to finalize some of the last minute questions. And also we could actually take a look at everybody's art and have each other just kind of present their artwork to the group. If that's an option that you'd like to do, I'll set it up on like a Saturday morning or something like that, and we can do that. We can actually discuss requirement number 7 during that time also. If not, then we can discuss within the Google Classroom. That's not a problem also. Okay, so this is not all of the careers in art. This is some. It's kind of a fun little chart that was up online to see what there is. So, any questions on requirement number 7? Okay, so that's all that we have for tonight. Any final questions or comments or concerns or any questions on any of the requirements that are being asked of?
For requirement 2, it says to I think show examples of each element of art, and it says to upload it, but there's no spot to upload it. So how should we do that?
Oh, good question. Okay, I'll unlock that so that you can attach it to your classroom. I'll make a quick note of that. Requirement to upload. Okay, that's a great one. Thank you. Any other items? Okay. Well, everybody stay safe. Most of us are under stay home, stay safe orders. Everybody keep well. Remember to keep washing those hands. even though they're almost completely gone from washing them so much, it feels like. And we wish each one of you the best and continue to work on your path to Eagle. And if there's no other questions, then we'll go ahead and call it a night. Thanks, everyone.